Let me welcome our witnesses here today. This hearing is one that we really were anxious to get on our calendar after our visit to Armenia. Senator Wicker, Congressman Wilson, myself, others were impressed by how Armenia has changed in a relatively short period of time and how they're struggling with the challenges of their region and how the United States can play a more important role in not only helping Armenia in a path towards a democratic state and with its own relations closer to the West, but how it affects the region generally. So we were very pleased that we have such a distinguished group of witnesses. There's no question that the Armenian diaspora has a very close relationship with Armenia, and we hear about that frequently. So there's some natural ties in this country that would have us focus on the issues of Armenia. It's a country that wants to determine its own future. That's what it wants to do. And it's difficult because they have external factors that make that a challenge for them to be able to do that. And they thirst for democracy and good governance. And after so much of a domination under the Soviet Union and now Russia, that's been a real challenge as to how they can reach that plateau. It's important that we acknowledge not only these immediate threats, but also broader geographical currents at play and the role of the United States can play in helping to secure an independent, democratic, and prosperous future for the Armenians and the region. First, I want to address the direct security threat posed by Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan recently came in and took over in the Nagorno-Karabakh area and did ethnic cleansing, required the people to leave or to face death or imprisonment. And this battle has been going on for a long time. This is nothing new. But they not only decided to displace a whole ethnic group, putting at risk the cultural facilities, the cultural history of the region, they decided to go into Azerbaijan and take part of Azerbaijan with no indication that they're going to give up that territory. Now, that territory is very strategic. We had a chance to see it. It's the highlands. And one can only believe that there's a reasonable risk that Azerbaijan is not going to stop from where they are right now, that they're going to do further incursions for the corridor to reconnect two parts of their country. That would either divide or eliminate a good part of Azerbaijan's sovereignty by force. Azerbaijan's relied upon Russia for its defense, basically, certainly for its border security. And what did Russia do? They told Azerbaijan, come on in, take it over. Russia is still present in Armenia. How do you are able to have security for your country if the person who enabled, the country that enabled your adversary to take over part of your country is who you depend upon for security? And I know they're trying to get some of the Russians' presence out of there, but it's pretty intrusive into their country right now. How does that happen? And then you look at the neighborhood. They're in a tough neighborhood. They have Russia. We've already talked about how Russia is not reliable for Armenia. They have Azerbaijan. We've already talked about Azerbaijan's desire to not only cleanse Nagorno-Karabakh, but to take over perhaps the whole corridor or southern part of Armenia. Then they have Iran as a neighbor. Iran's not a reliable partner. They do some commerce with Iran. We saw oil trucks. We saw a lot of activity by Iranian trucks when we were there. But that's not a reliable partner to have. We all know that. And then there's Turkey, which we were always hoping that Armenia and Turkey would normalize their relations. The border is closed right now. The border is closed to Azerbaijan. The border is closed to Turkey. There's limited crossings to Russia and to Iran. So we need to be engaged so that Armenia can defend itself and make its own decisions. That means getting Russia out of Armenia. It also means normalizing the relationship between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and particularly Armenia and Turkey, which is absolutely essential to do, so that there are other avenues available for commerce. The country is being strangled right now. Would you invest in this country in a manufacturing business if you depend upon international commerce? You don't even know you have any borders that you can open up to transport your goods. We got to free Armenia so that it can control its own future, and that means we have to figure out ways to move forward with the peace process with Azerbaijan and for more normal relations with Turkey. And who's stopping that? Russia. So we welcome our panelists today on how the United States can play an important role for Armenia. So it can determine its own future, it can develop as a democratic state, one that has good governance, respects the rights of its citizens, and can be a leading partner in security in the region. And I look forward to our witnesses.